So good morning once again. Uh, I have decided like on every weekend, that means on Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to study the deployments because deployment does not have any link to any another topic. That means we can start this at any place. So your development is going on, and we are studying the asynchronous programming. After asynchronous, I will be going to start with the triggers and the test classes. And the visual force is the topic which I already have given you the videos for the self-study. So now what I have decided is like, in continue to the development, or continue to the development, like there are only two topics which are left uh, on that portion. There are only two topics, the triggers and the test classes, of course. After that, I'm going to start with the integrations. So in continue to the development, I'm going to start with the integration. Now, integration itself is a is a is a little lengthy topic. It would probably going to require at least 20 sessions, I guess. So I have decided one thing, in the meanwhile, we can learn deployments, because deployment, I'm telling you, is entirely a non-coding process, and it does not require any coding experience or something, a topic as a prerequisite to complete before going for deployment. So it's entirely a non-coding configuration type of thing. Moreover, why I am seeking this to take little early is because these days, I am working on the things which in real time actually. These days, like I'm developing certain modules which I'm going to which usually I perform the deployments on. Almost every week I'm doing my deployment. So what I have planned, like this, I have already done with 206 batch as well. I taught them deployments, and then I have given them a chance to join with me during a real time deployment that I was doing that time. So I made that announcement initially in the class that, see, although you have learned this deployment, right? But if you want, like, I usually do the deployments quite often. So I told them that if you wanted to join me in that session, if you are interested, please tell me. I can make you be a part of that time whenever I am doing a real time kind of deployment. So because they were agreed to do that. So I guess 2 weeks back itself, I have taken a session, not just session. I just have shared the link, and I told them to join with me. And then I was doing a real-time deployment that time, so I explained the process to them, and at the same time I make them touch the base about how the real-time deployment goes to be. Now see, uh, I'm having a similar kind of thing right now with me as well, right? And these days, the projects on which I'm working, there are certain things which I'm creating right now, and that needs to be get deployed. So that's the reason I have yesterday I think of it, and I decided that let's take deployment of your batch as well prior to all this what is going on. And so Monday to Friday we would be on to the same track. We would follow the same track wherein you are going to complete the remaining portion of development, and we're going to start integration immediately next day after that. So on Monday to Friday, on the weekdays, we would be going to meet for, we're going to continue in the same track, but specifically on Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to change our track, and we're going to learn the deployments as well. So this is what is a plan. what I have decided for you guys. All right, so let me first of all tell you what does it means by the requirements. I'm going to share right all these things. I let me see if I have any theoretical thing with me. So let me try to see this thing first of all. All right, I guess I have something, so I'll do one thing. Huh. Obviously, I would be creating one separate folder for this into your drive. So all you have to do today is to share me your email IDs so that I could share this material once again to you guys. So I'll be naming this as 208 deployment. Now let me see what this file I have created. Oh, I wanted to open this with this. There are not a lot of theory which I'm having for this. Uh, and I think this all is going to be the part of discussion, whatever has been written. But still, you can go with them. You can go with them. All right. Uh, you can go with them. Let me talk on one of the important thing, and that is sandboxes. See, let's try to understand first of all what is a sandbox. All right, guys, see, you right now, every one of us, like you are, whatever the practice you guys are doing, you are doing this onto your development or what you have created. Sometimes it is also known as the desktop. So whenever we go with login.salesforce.com, understand, whenever we go with this login.salesforce.com, login.salesforce.com always route you to the production environment. It would always route you to the production environment. All right, it would always route you to the production environment. Let me try to show you something. So if I would go with this, I would go with this environment. This environment is a production environment. So login.salesforce is always route you to the production environment. Acha, I would be taking a separate session, although for the lightning experience part, like how you can navigate yourself to the lightning experiences. But throughout the discussion, this is, I mean, you can closely observe over here, and you can, because you have the recording. So working on the lightning experience is not a big deal. Understand? It's not a big deal. All right. There would be so many times, I am going to tell you about how to work on the lightning experience. I'm going to take a separate session on that as well. But I always used to say that 80% of the portion would be covered from what I'm telling you. 20% of the training is always from your own consciousness. If you are cautiously observing me, like where I'm clicking, what navigation I'm following, you can definitely learn the things by your own. It's not a big deal. So I would be telling you this entire process in the lightning experience only because I wanted you to understand the same thing as well. All right. I can take you to the classic environment, but I wanted you to learn the lightning experience as well. Right. So I would be explaining you the same thing in the lightning, and you just observe this. And while explaining this all, I would also try to explain you that the navigations, how to navigate yourself for the things, how to get the things, what you do in the classic, how to get those things done in the lightning experience. All right. So see, this is my production environment. How I can understand this. So in classic, you usually, if for example, if I would go to your batch, if I would go to, let's say, if I would go to 208 batch, and if I would enter the password, your password typically is, share the passwords as well. I mean, if you want, you can try with the same. This is your password, I guess, if I have not changed it. So, maintenance, performance duration, 7 a.m. to 20. All right. Anyways, that is, I guess, next week. Accelerated. All right. Yeah. See, if I wanted to see anything over here, what we usually do is like, we go to the setup menu and, for example, we go to the company profile and then company information, right? Here you are going to get the things related to what is the organization, server and everything, right? AP24. And then your edition, this is developer edition. Now, if you wanted to see the same thing in the Lightning experience, you'll have to go with the same process. This gear icon indicates the setup. Make a click onto that setup. All right. And then, you get this quick find. You also have quick find over here as well, isn't it? We usually, during our training session, I have not teach you to go with the quick find. Why? Because I wanted you to learn the navigations as well. Like, company information is a part of administer and everything. And then, what is a part of how to go with customize, create, developer. So mostly, during our training part, I have not taught you to go with the quick find because I wanted you to learn the navigations as well. But in the Lightning, you can clearly use it. There is no, in the Lightning, it would be more convenient even if you would go with this. So because I wanted to see the details of, my company information, I can directly type the company and going to see the company information. All right. So a similar kind of page, like what you see over here right now, the information of everything, right? Similar kind of page would be open. See, similar kind of page would be open. So basically what is like, the front end when we are using Lightning experience, you would observe that only the front end part has been changed. Front end that to be the navigation part. The pages which get loads in most of the cases, they are same. They are same as you have seen them. You have seen them, in your classic experience, right? So I was talking about when you use login.salesforce.com. Login.salesforce.com would always take you to the production environment. Even though if you get landed onto the developer edition, or if you are getting landed onto this type of environment, you see enterprise edition, that's a paid version, by the way. In your the developer edition, how much memory you usually get? You wanted to see the memory, right? So I'll click onto this. How much memory we get? For the data storage we get 5 MB, and for the file storage we get 20 MB. That is my developer edition, 5 MB and 20 MB. But see over here, if you wanted to see this, we can go like 36 GB and 27 terabytes, and this could be extended. This could be extended if your organization feels that we are running short of data and we would require more amount of storage. You can certainly write down an email asking the Salesforce uh, to show them, to show them what would be the going to the what is going to be the cost of increasing data limits. So literally there is no data limits is over there with the basic version. And when they have given the license of enterprise edition, uh, I guess, if I'm not wrong about this, I guess 20 GB has been allotted for both, for data and file. 20 GB was being allotted in the enterprise and unlimited edition initially. But later on, because this organization has came to know, like 20 GB is not going to enough for this. So they have extended their data and file storage capacity. Now you can see for data they are using 36 GB. 29% of them already has been consumed, and for file storage they have 22.7 terabytes. That's a huge amount of memory. So now coming back to the discussion, whenever you make a click on login.salesforce.com, you always land onto production environment. So this means our developer edition which we have created, the developer edition account, what we have created, what you have created, what every one of us has created, that is a production environment, first of all. All right, that's a production environment. The developer edition account which you have created, the test org which you have created for your own practices, for your training purpose, that developer edition is a production environment. That developer edition is a production environment with limited access. That production, it's a production environment with a very small bandwidth. The production environment, which can provide you almost a replica of unlimited or enterprise edition, but at the same time, there are few of the things which have been restricted, or rather, there are a few other things. There are few other things which have been restricted onto this environment. So it's a kind of a production environment with limited access. So remember this first of all. Let's start this point from here itself. The developer edition which we are using is a production environment. It's not a sandbox. Now, that is the first thing. So basically, we've so far we were working onto the production environments. So far, we were working onto the production environment. The developer edition, what every one of us was using, is a production environment. Because how we land ourselves onto this, how we access this, what was the URL? What was the URL? Login.salesforce.com. Login.salesforce.com. So whenever you make a use of login.salesforce.com, it eventually will going to land you the production environment. All right. So now in real time, we never make any development directly onto production. We never make any development directly onto production. Whenever we have to create something, the usual practice is always to create the things on sandboxes. There might be different sort of sandboxes. I'm coming to that fact. First of all, we never do development on production. Why? Because production contains real-time data. Production contains real-time data. If this is a production environment, right? If this is a production environment, if this is a, oh, why I have posted, 1 second, guys. I have to make certain comparisons. So just a moment. Yeah. So if this is a production environment, if this is a production environment, it contains real-time data. It contains real-time data. Now, that was app launcher, by the way. This is app launcher. And I make myself to be navigated to the sales. Sales cloud, right? You usually from here, you usually navigate like the sales, service, marketing. So this is your app launcher, by the way, right? In Lightning, this is your app launcher, right? Wherever you want it, you can migrate. If you wanted to see all the application, just make a click on view all. It would going to open a dialog box and it would show you what are the applications, right? All right. So this is real-time data. This is a real-time data. This is a real-time data, right? Whatever you see is a real-time data. Whatever you see. This is not your test data. Understood? This is not your test data. Whatever you see over here is a real-time data, by the way. It's all a real-time data. So we cannot take that risk. We cannot take that risk that we would work directly onto the real-time data. If something got manipulated, something got changed, it's going to make a big disaster over here. Any changes, and this happens with me. I'll tell you one story, not story. This is a real instance, actually. That was not purely my mistake in that case. Let me tell you what happened that time. I have created one automation, when I initially have joined this organization, when I joined this NITEC projects. So I was totally unaware about a few of the things like this. I was totally unaware about, few of the things like, I'll show you one thing. So in NITEC, it's like, there are so many different business units over there. There are so many business units over there. See, If you wanted to create an opportunity, these all are the name of those forms of opportunity. These are record types, by the way. You know what is a record type. All right, you know what is a record type. So I have created an automation, and with the automation, which was like I have tested this onto one of the sandbox that time, and then it was working good. Then I deployed this to production, and when on the production I make that automation active. The next day, what happened is like it has. I guess it was an opportunity, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it was an opportunity. So it has updated the other record types as well. So you won't believe somewhere around 96 lakhs of data was been updated. So it was a very big disaster that time. But because I mean, usually in that case, client used to create a escalation. We used to call this as an escalation. But that time, because I recently have joined the NITEC, and I was not the in charge of everything. Right now, right now I am, because there's no one in the sales force. I'm a solo contractor in this case. But that time there were few people, those who were kind of my manager. So then it becomes what to say. Uh, it becomes a cumulative responsibility that every one of us has taken on there. That though I was new, but the people, to my managers, they know everything. They have to guide me. And but then I have one practice. I'll tell you one thing. Whenever I do any sort of deployment, and when I know that the data is going to be updated, what I usually do is like I create one field. I guess I have created this an opportunity as well. Let me try to show you. मतलब कहीं ना कहीं सिक्स सेंस जो होता है ना वो आपका काम करता है. I'm not sure whether in the side an opportunity I have created that or what. I usually create a field called as mass update. I usually create a field called as mass update. I guess I'm not sure on which object I did that, but I usually create a field called as mass update. A checkbox naam ki field hai, which I make it hidden. I do not land it to any of the page layout. So the automation which I have created, I उसमें मैंने एक condition डाल रखी थी कि whatever the data it was being updating, उसमें mass update की value जो है ना should become should no, I'm looking at it like that. उसमें mass update की जो value है वो true हो जानी चाहिए. So I have this one. नहीं यहाँ पे नहीं है, opportunity में नहीं बनाया, but example है क्या मेरे पास में, I guess let's see with the target. I usually do this if I am doing any. Yeah, see. This is, if you would see this field, this is just a checkbox field. I usually create this, whenever I have to do any, if I would be creating any automation, or rather if I'm performing a bulk export operation or import operation, that time I usually create a field inside the object, and I make itself, the default value is unchecked. But when the same would be updated from an automation, I design the automation in a way like this becomes true. So this was one of my gut feeling that time. So one second, guys. So this was a kind of flag. So when that accident was happened, now we would have to revert that data as early as possible. So I fired a query on that object, opportunity, I guess. And then I retrieved all those records where the value of mass updated was true. One simple SQL query has returned me all those records. Like select ID name mass update from the opportunity where mass update equals to true. So I simply get the list of all that record that has been updated. And that was be updated, आप भी update कर सकते हो. But when you are updating that, mass update की value नहीं आएगी. Because mass update नाम की field was getting updated only the reason was my automation. So ये एक ऐसी practice थी जब मुझे किसी architect ने बता रखा था ये. आज मैंने आप लोगों को बताया कि इस तरह के फ्लैग्स छोड़ा करो, हिडन फ्लैग्स छोड़ के रखा करो फ्यूचर के लिए, कि अगर कुछ दिक्कत होती है तो यू कैन एटलीस्ट रिवर्ट दैट डेटा. तो ये एक ऐसी चीज थी जिसने मुझे बचा लिया था उस टाइम पे. अदरवाइज इट वाज बीन एक्सकलेटेड. हो सकता था मैं इस प्रोजेक्ट से बाहर ही हो जाता था, because client would ask my replacement at that time immediately. But they were more interested, because they were more interested to revert that data to get the solution. तो उस वक्त उन्होंने इस चीज पे बात नहीं करी. और मैं आपको एक बात बताऊं, यूएस, यूरोप, ऑस्ट्रेलियन, इंडिया को छोड़ के, पूरा मत मानना मेरी बात का, बट they when something bad happens, I have, like, I have worked with Indian managers. I also have worked uh, with the managers of US, Europe, and I have worked with so many of people. I have found one thing, like when something bad happens in India, everybody starts that blaming game, and they wanted you to take this responsibility. They wanted you to take this on you. So this happens with, Indian managers. When, if your manager is from US or from Canada, from US, I mean, apart from India, if it's not an Indian, they would ask you to think about solution more than, what has been happened. They would say, forgot that. Whatever has been happened has been happened. There is no meaning to talk on to that, and there is no meaning to see to this who is responsible. Rather, it would be good if we would start talking about, how to revert that, how to get a solution. So because I was being able to revert that entire data to their original forms within that frame, within that time frame, nothing has been happened. Otherwise, I was being escalated, and maybe I was not being a part of this project. So, थोड़ी बहुत, intelligence is always we should use. We should not. Sometimes you always have to. Sometimes you always have to think out of box of the things. एक pattern में नहीं चलना कभी. चलो एक अलग बात. I was क्या explain कर रहा था. So whenever we do, the developments, we don't do this onto the production. We always develop the things on sandboxes. Whatever we create, we always create it onto the sandbox. Whatever we test, we always test it on the sandbox. Production is the finest version of everything. When you are launching, when you are deploying something, when you are transferring something onto production, deployment means transferring the things from lower environment to the higher, even from higher to low. Deployment is just to transfer the things. And sometimes they ask you this in the interview, can you deploy something from production back to sandbox? Yes, of course, this is also possible. पर deployment का मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं होता है कि आप sandbox से production की तरफ लेके जाए चीज को. नहीं. There is a thing called as back deployment. There is a thing called as back deployment. There are few things, sometimes there are a few things there are few of the changes that we directly made onto production. Sometimes, very rare. This should be avoided as far as possible. But yes, this is a fact. This is a fact that, sometimes we need to do the changes directly onto the production. Now, if I wanted that, once that has been tested and everything is okay, I wanted my sandbox to be compatible with production all the time, especially the closest one. Sometimes it is full copy sandbox, which is the closest one, with your production. So we sometimes even, we deploy the things back from production to sandbox. This is called as back deployment. Yes, of course, we can do deployments can be done from both sides, sandbox to production, even production to sandbox. What is the need to get the things from production to sandbox? If there are certain changes, there are certain immediate changes which you did directly onto production, but you wanted the same should be get reflected onto the sandbox, then you do what is called as the back deployment. And let me show you a few of the examples of that as well. I'll show you. Acha, ek cheez aur, 1 second. So I'll show you something. Uh, hmm, I'll take you to one object called change request. Like, in this IDEC actually, uh, they used to give me, like, apart from this, I mean, people used to give me the work in the form of change request. That's just a story, nothing else. So I think I recently closed that. 1 second. I'll show you something. The example of the back deployment. I'm just telling you that. I recently have closed that. Second. Give me a moment. Let me just try to find out one example. Uh, I think this one. Yes, yes. See, let's talk on to this requirement. See, there are so many things. We are learning deployments, although, but then I'm not making it short. I'm explaining you in almost elaborated way what is possible. All right, see, look at this example. I got this request, I got this task, I got this work. Please add a report. Please add a this. This is one of the report. Like if I would make a click onto that, you can see the report. This is a report. This is a report which they wanted to add onto the page layout. These are those record type. These are those business units. CT and EPG are the business units. Are the page layouts on which on the account के page layouts है CT and EPG. They wanted to add this report. हाँ इससे एक चीज और पता चल जाएगी आपको how to add the reports as well. So this is one of the report. All right, this is a report which they wanted it to get added. They wanted it to get added to account page layout. Now, see, I cannot do this task onto Sandbox. Why I cannot do this task onto Sandbox? Any guessings, by the way? I'll have to do this directly on production. Can anyone of you please guess why I cannot do this onto Sandbox? Yes, any guessings of this? Any guessings? Meanwhile, let me show you. You think of this, why I have done this directly onto production, rather first do this onto Sandbox and then deploy this to production. You think of this. Meanwhile, let me show you what I did for this. So this was the report, which they wanted it to bring onto the account page layout. So what I did, let me try to show you that as well. Oh, let me close which one? This one, I guess. So I'll take you to the app launcher and then Sales Cloud, NIDEX Sales. NIDEX, I mean, this project is entirely about Sales Cloud only. So how I'll take you to the setup and then I'll take you to the page layout itself directly. So I go with Object Manager and I make a click onto the account. These are the list of all of the objects. I'll make a click onto account. I'll go with page layouts. I'll go with the page layout and then because I have added on CT layout, right? So I click on to CT global layout. Now see, this interface is same as your classic. You will going to see. Abhi tak lightning chal raha tha. Now see this is known to you, isn't it? What I did is like I go to the page layout. I have added a section over there. So this is like account information and everything, other account, address, transactional data. I added a section called target. All right, and this is that report which I have added. How to add that? If you would go to this section, you have reports and chart, right? You have reports and charts. These all are the reports. These all are the reports. You'll have to find it out which report you wanted to add it, which report you wanted to add. So because that report, I guess, was being created on the target, right? So report called current FY targets, right? There is a report with this name. I find out that report, current FY target, this was the report. And then I just drag and drop it. The way you do this in, ये आपने इसके पहले भी किया. So this is the way how you add the things onto the page layout. All right. This is the way how you add the reports onto the page layout. Create a separate section. Otherwise, you can add it into the same section as well. Or and then just go with report and chart and drag and drop whatever. So this is the way. By the way, चलो इतना ही बात आपने सीखी. Now coming to this fact, I did this directly on production. Why? This is my question. Yes. Any guessings about this? That's a very interesting thing. उसके बाद मुझे बैक डिप्लॉयमेंट्स करने पड़े हैं. प्रोडक्शन में डालने के बाद फिर मैंने इसको बैक डिप्लॉय किया. मेरा जो सैंडबॉक्स है, डेवटिंग नाम का मैंने अपना सैंडबॉक्स बना रखा है यहाँ पे. आई बैक डिप्लॉयड दिस टू द सैंडबॉक्स. So this is an example, first of all, where you do the back deployments, you transfer the things from production to the sandbox. But let me ask you, why I did this directly on production? Yes, any guessings, guys? Anything? Anything? No guessings at all? No guessings? The simple reason was, whoever has created this report report was present onto this environment. They wanted me to bring a report onto account layout. They wanted me to bring a report onto account page, account layout. Where is the report? Where is the report? Report is here inside in this environment. Does my sandbox have this report? No. Unless I would refresh. I'm coming to this fact. Right. For example, you today you created a report and sandbox was been refreshed 15 days prior. Whenever you refresh sandbox, whenever you refresh a sandbox, I'm coming to that fact. Don't worry. Sandbox would contain everything what production have. बट जैसे मैंने आज रिफ्रेश किया, मान के चलो, या मैंने एक काम करते हैं, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट आई हैव रिफ्रेश दिस ऑन 10th of June. मेरा सैंडबॉक्स 10 तारीख को रिफ्रेश हुआ है. सो 10 तारीख को प्रोडक्शन का हर चीज, वट एवर प्रोडक्शन हैव दोस रिपोर्ट्स एंड ऑब्जेक्ट्स, कस्टम ऑब्जेक्ट, एवरीथिंग दैट बिकम्स अ रेप्लिका, राइट? सैंडबॉक्स इज अ रेप्लिका ऑफ योर प्रोडक्शन. तो जैसे मैंने 10 तारीख को रिफ्रेश किया था, तो 10 तारीख को जब मेरा सैंडबॉक्स रिफ्रेश हुआ, इट वुड कंटेन एवरीथिंग. इट वुड कंटेन एवरीथिंग what the production have. अगर ये रिपोर्ट उस दिन होती तो ये सैंडबॉक्स में भी होती, बट यूजर ने इसको 15 तारीख को क्रिएट किया. अब now when user has created this on 15th and he is asking me to bring that report onto production, onto some of the layout, I know this report is not there onto sandbox. So if I wanted to do this task on sandbox first, I first of all would require to migrate this report. मुझे पहले ये रिपोर्ट माइग्रेट करना था सैंडबॉक्स पे, उसके बाद में सैंडबॉक्स पे इसको लाना था, टेस्ट करवाना था वो. बट आई नो दैट्स अ स्मॉल फिक्स. So I did directly this on production. So sometimes we do, sometimes we directly do the things on production. Yes, of course. But there is a huge risk into that. Understand? If you know the accountability of everything, if you know what is the post and prior risk to that, and if you have calculated everything, then you can even do the changes in the production directly. But you should be a you should be an experienced developer in that case. Understand? All right. Right. This is very highly risk. So I always used to say, don't do anything on production directly at your stage because you are very new to this technology. धीरे धीरे आप खुद ही समझ जाते हो. What is that point of saturation in your life when you would understand this, which are the things that I can take this directly on production and which are the things I should start with the sandboxes. So in case mein, when I did that, now I wanted to make my sandbox compatible, so I did that back deployment as well. So फिर मैंने, once I committed that changes, and because that was an intermediate change, that was an immediate change, sorry. So I initially did this onto production, and after once that has been, that has been approved, once that CR has been closed, that अभी आपने देखा होगा शायद कि that work has been closed, right? Close हो चुका था, completed. All right. So इसको फिर मैंने बैक डिप्लॉयमेंट किया. ये होने के बाद I moved that everything from production to sandbox. because I wanted my sandbox to be always updated. वैसे भी refresh करने के बाद ये हो जाती. चलो. तो ये थोड़ा एक introduction है. This is the introduction like about the deployments. Now let's coming to let me try to explain you the what are the sandboxes by the way. So sandboxes are always or is a test environment by the way. Sandbox is a test environment which you always create from production. Which you always create from production. Sandboxes are the test environments which you always create from the production. But it cannot be created into your developer edition. Because in developer edition, if I'll go, if in the developer edition, if I'll go to the setup and if I'll go with deploy, I'll go with deploy. Deploy has only two things, deployment setting and deployment status. Deployment setting and deployment status. It have only these two things, deployment settings and deployment status. But at the same time, if you would go with the paid version like this one, if you go with the paid versions like this one, and this is a production environment. Now over here, if I would go to like see setup, and if I type deploy, if I would go to the quick find and if I type deploy over there. So in over here, over here it have over here. Let me take you to the classic version of this. Just for the comparison, otherwise यहाँ उसका navigation अलग है. Here you have to type sandboxes, right? But I wanted you to see this, make this comparison. Let me show you. Switch to the Salesforce Classic. And let's understand the differences, what you see in your developer edition and what you see in a paid version, enterprise or unlimited. So I'll go to the setup menu over here. See, this is classic. This is classic, and why it is coming like this? Yeah. Now see over here, if I would go to deploy, what do you see? See the differences. Onto a developer edition, although you get this facility, I mean, it's functionality wise, it's almost same with your enterprise or unlimited edition, but I have told you it's a limited access. It's a limited access edition. You whatever you have created over here, right? You created like hiring manager positions, whatever, maybe triggers or maybe classes, whatever you have written over here, whatever you have created, you have developed, you cannot deploy this. You cannot transfer anything from a developer edition to other environment. Why? Because do you see what is over here? There are two things only, deployment settings and deployment status. Whereas for the deployment, we require sandboxes. And this is a paid version. See the differences. In the paid versions, in the deploy menu, you have sandboxes, outbound chain set, inbound chain set, and then these two things which are there in the developer edition as well, deployment settings and deployment status. So for particularly for your deployment, we require all these sandboxes. We require outbound chain sets and we require inbound chain. We require chain sets. What is a chain set? I'm coming to that gradually. I cannot complete everything in today's session only. All right, I cannot complete everything in today's session. But let's see how far we can go. All right, so see the differences. See the differences directly. In a developer edition, you have only two things, whereas in a paid version, the license version, you have all these things as well. Now let's go back to the Lightning, because at the same time I wanted you to understand the Lightning experience as well. So when I wanted to create the sandboxes, if you are onto the classic, you can directly, you have this option over here itself in the deployment. Here probably you don't have that option, right? Here probably you don't have that option, deploy. In the deployment, you don't have that option to create the sandbox. Although when you type sandbox, over here, so it is under environment. So I'm telling you that there's a slight difference between navigation. Pages are usually same. Pages are usually same. In the Lightning experience, there's just a difference between navigation. And once you start practicing on that, so gradually, you gain that navigation as well. I mean, you know how to navigate yourself to the things, right? So sandbox is a part of environment over here, not a part of deploy. So when I make a click onto the sandbox, see, this is my production environment. Once again, I'm telling you that this is my production environment. When you make a click over here, you can see how many different forms of sandboxes we have. And this is the example, this is the answer to that question. What are the different forms of sandboxes? What are the different forms of sandboxes? This is the answer of that. There are 4 different types of sandboxes: developer, developer pro, partial copy, and full copy sandbox. There are 4 types of sandboxes. There are 4 types of, if you can take screenshot, I guess, over here. Let me do that. There are 4 types of sandboxes. There are 4 types of sandboxes. So there are 4 types of sandboxes. Developer sandbox, developer pro sandbox, partial copy sandbox, and then full copy sandbox. Yeah. All right. There are 4 types of sandboxes. Now, it is not mandatory that with every type of production, you are going to get all 4 of them. This is an architecture level decision. You know, when this organization was talking, that time when they were being in communication with Salesforce. So that time they have decided to have only 2 types of sandboxes: developer and partial copy. And this was a high level decision. I mean, whoever was architect that time does not feel that they should have a full copy sandbox. Although, in my opinion, every organization should always have at least one full copy sandbox. Why? I'm going to tell you that. But before this, please write down one question for assignment. Please write down this. Every one of you have to go and Google this and find out the differences. I'm going to tell you a few of them, but find out the differences between developer, developer pro, partial copy, and full copy. And what you have to do, you just have to type it over: differences between developer, developer pro, partial copy, and full copy sandboxes, I guess. And you're going to find something from here as well, right? All right. So go and Google this and try to find out the differences between all 4 of them. All 4 of them. Let me talk about the full copy sandbox. In NITEC, we don't have any full copy. Always, I mean, अगर मैं तो नहीं था उसमें जब ये सब हुआ, मैं तो बहुत बाद में join किया हूँ. But whoever was present that time does not know the importance of having a full copy. Maybe NITEC has to pay a little more amount to Salesforce to get one full copy sandbox, but that was very good. I'll tell you why. Because what happened is, like, the full copy, sandbox. Whenever this sandbox would, right now we have a partial copy, and this is a sandbox which I am keeping myself, right? Dev Pro. Obviously, it's when if you would see this, I tell you one thing. The difference is what you are going to find. You would always see that it would be like increasing in hierarchy like this. The least functionality what you get is with developer. Comparing developer with developer pro would get some additional functionality. You're going to see this, right? I have told you to find out the differences between these two. And when you see, when you compare between dev pro to partial copy, you're going to see that partial copy have some more functionality. When finally you would make a comparison between partial copy and full copy, you would see that full copy is the most powerful sandbox. Every organization should at least have one. So अभी इस organization के साथ they haven't been opted with full copy, although मैंने request डाली है लोग कि we must have a full copy sandbox, at least one. Reasons I'm going to tell you. मैं बताता हूँ. Right now they don't have. They were having only one. They are having 25 developer sandboxes, out of which 12 has been consumed. 12 sandboxes are over there. Agar if I wanted to create a new sandbox, see, there is a new button. There is a new button, right? New sandbox. New sandbox. I have clicked onto that. If I wanted to, I'll have to give the name. I'll have to give the name of this, right? जैसे कि मैं नाम दिया उसको test something like this. हाँ. Sandbox could be created from this. अभी अगर if I by default it is always a production. मतलब the sandbox is going to be have a copy of production, whatever there is now in the production. That is going to be reflected, that is going to be replicated into the sandbox. Otherwise, it can also have a copy of other sandboxes as well. You wanted to make that sandbox a copy of other sandbox is also possible. This does not mean the sandbox is getting created from other sandbox. No, it is something like, it is like a mirroring, it is like a mirroring. You are creating a sandbox. You are creating a sandbox. That sandbox should be a mirror image of what? Usually it is production. But this could be mirrored, this could be mirrored from some other sandboxes as well. Like if I would select this sandbox, dev team. So this new sandbox is going to become a copy of dev team sandbox. Usually we don't do that. I mean, usually the sandbox is always a copy of production. Yes, chalo. So this is the way, and this is the way to what I was saying. This is a way to create the sandbox. All right. And see, there are a few things over listed out over here itself, right? There are a few things listed out over here as well. I was talking about getting the differences. These differences are listed over here as well. The differences between a developer partial copy and full copy sandbox. All right. These are the differences as well. One second. Yeah. So these are the differences between, dev pro, partial copy and full copy. Let me talk about you will see the differences. वो सब आप देख लेना. Let me talk the differences mostly between partial copy and full copy. In a partial copy, you can refresh this after every 5 days. A full copy sandbox is refreshed after only 29 days. I mean, the refresh interval. If I have refreshed this on 1st of this month, I cannot. I would refresh. I can refresh this after 29 days. That means on the 30. That is the first difference. Refresh interval. Capacity of partial copy is only 5 GB, whereas full copy sandbox would be same as your production. So in the production right now, just you have seen, I guess there were 32 GB and 1 terabyte, right? Abhi dikhaya aapko. So the partial copy sandbox would be of the same capacity. Yahan pe it could be maximum of 5 GB. But full copy sandbox would have the same capacity. So for this one, abhi jab humne dekha that, I guess that was 33 or 34 GB, and then it was 1 terabyte, I guess. So the same capacity applies over here onto the full copy sandbox. Then it contains everything. It contains everything. Partial copy also contains everything. Whatever you have created, your apex and metadata, your configuration, in the configuration, everything. Configuration मतलब सारी चीजें. इसमें reports, dashboard, object, custom object, standard object, सारी चीजें आती हैं. Whatever you have created, business automations and everything. Apex and metadata, सारे users, ठीक है. उसके बाद में record types और sandbox template वगैरह वगैरह सब. लेकिन full copy में एक बहुत अच्छी चीज आती है, वो है data, the entire data, not just data history optional, entire data of the entire data of production copied to full copy. Partial copy में नहीं आता. Partial copy have a limited capacity. So accordingly, Salesforce जो है आपका data copy नहीं करता है. So in the partial copy sandbox, there is no data. Although it would contain everything, but data is not there. अब एक चीज समझो. For example, let me show you one. See, I can directly take you to the deployments, but ये सारी चीजें जो मैं डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ ना, ये आपको कभी नहीं पता चलना जब तक आप ये टाइम पर नहीं आओ, ठीक है? I have recently sent an email to one of my colleague. Yeah, yeah. So I was creating something for her, for Amalia, as one automation which I have created. So this automation I have created is onto my sandbox. मेरा जो sandbox है, ठीक है? Let's take a little take back to this. So in this organization, we have only developer sandboxes, and then we have a partial copy. So I have taken this partial copy, right? So if you would see this sandbox, this is my sandbox, dev team sandbox. And this dev team sandbox is the partial copy sandbox. Otherwise, all other sandboxes are developer sandboxes. All right. चलो. So जो भी highest version था sandbox का, वो मैंने लेके रख लिया है. Because obviously मुझे सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत होती है यहाँ पे बाकी चीजों, बाकी लोगों की comparison. Now, there was one of the automation which I have created for one of the business unit. एक business unit है जिसका नाम है CIMDE. They have their own sandbox, as you can see. That's a copy of developer. It's a developer sandbox. They have their own sandbox called CIMDE. I have created one automation for this business unit. And this is my colleague Amalia. So she was asking me, I mean, sandbox on which I have created, is that sandbox? Is the sandbox environment set up the same as the production one? When she was trying to ask me कि अभी जो sandbox की configuration है वो same है क्या? Before working on getting on the new automation, can we check for this? So I replied to her that the dev team sandbox was refreshed almost 2 months back. मतलब 2 महीने पहले हमने इसको refresh किया था. तो इसका मतलब ये होता है कि sandbox जो है मेरा dev team, it is not right now. It is not exactly same as of the production, because whatever changes has been happened in this past 2 months, everything has not been back deployed. Obviously, everything has not been back deployed. तो इसका मतलब ये होता है कि if we need to make it prod compatible, अगर तुम इसको prod compatible यानी एकदम prod के साथ में सेम करना चाहती हो, तो it has to be refreshed once again. आपको उसे refresh करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? Like this is my sandbox, right? Drafting. If I wanted this to become, अभी जो production और इसमें differences है, अभी इसमें इसको मैंने रिफ्रेश किया था 17 मार्च को, as you can see 17th of March I have refreshed. So that time it was exactly same. Whatever is there onto the production was also onto there on all was also becomes a part of the sandbox. But right now, because it's almost a gap of 2 or 3 months, so if there are any changes, not everybody do this back deployment. कुछ ही लोग समझते हैं इस चीज को. In my case, whatever I created, I used to do the back deployments, but not everyone do this, right? तो इस वक्त ये sandbox is not a copy. If I would refresh this, there is a button to refresh this. If I would refresh this, so in that case, what is going to be happen? Whatever there is inside sandbox would delete हो जाएगा, everything, and then it becomes a copy of production. वो अभी मैं नहीं करूंगा because बहुत सारे modules हैं मेरे जो sandbox पे अभी हैं, उसको मैंने deploy नहीं किया अभी, काफी सारा development में करता रहता हूँ. But it would subsequently erase everything inside, including the automation that is created. So it is not possible at the moment. It is not possible. I am not going to refresh this. तो मैंने वही बोला उसको कि I am not going to refresh this sandbox because ये काफी सारी चीजें जो मैंने बनाई वो सारा इरेज हो जाएगा उसमें. There are so many things there in this sandbox which have not been deployed so far. तो उसका आंसर फिर मेरे को ये आता है कि in this case, could you please develop the automation and testing in CMDE sandbox? क्या आप उसको CMDE पे कर सकते हो? Because CMD sandbox has been production setup for record. उसका कहना है कि ये काफी रिफ्रेश उसमें I have not checked, but CMD उसका कहना है कि तो मुझसे भी पहले रिफ्रेश हुआ, पता नहीं कैसे. आई एम नॉट श्योर, बट शी वांट बिकॉज शी बिलोंग्स टू CMD. उसका कहना है कि CMD इज क्लोज टू द प्रोडक्शन. तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम. फिर देखो यहाँ पे लाइक यू कैन अज्यूम लाइक हाउ डू वी कम्युनिकेट्स विद ईच अदर. सो मैं उसको बोल रहा हूँ कि मैं कर दूंगा डिप्लॉयमेंट, बट एट द सेम टाइम आई एम suggesting her one thing. Although as a part of our usual practice, we do all our developments inside DevTeam Sandbox. मैं सारी चीजें DevTeam Sandbox पे ही करता हूँ और recommend करता हूँ सबको. Why? Because this is the only partial copy sandbox we have. On the other hand, it is also a good piece of advice to test the automation with the production, with close to the production data as far as possible. If you are testing something, read this statement. Read this statement. It is also a good piece of advice that if you are testing something, try to replicate, try to run your test close to production data as far as possible. Now, if you are saying to me that my sandbox is close to production, I don't have any issue. I'll launch this, I'll deploy the things into your sandbox and we're going to perform the testing over there. Development तो मैं मेरी end पे करूँगा. हाँ, तो मैंने क्या बोला उसको कि I would require to deploy the components from dev team to sandbox to CMD in this case. Give me some time and I'll let you know. मेरा development जब complete हो जाएगा तो मैं deployment कर दूंगा. तो we can deploy things from one sandbox to another sandbox. That is the first thing. ठीक है, यहाँ इस पूरे डिस्कशन से आपको जो चीज पता चलती वो ये कि यू कैन डिप्लॉय थिंग्स फ्रॉम वन सैंडबॉक्स टू अनदर सैंडबॉक्स. बैक डिप्लॉयमेंट इज आर आल्सो पॉसिबल, राइट? It's not always deployment does not always means to bringing the changes from lower to higher environment. No. Understand? Yes, this is the usual problem. This is a usual process. Whenever you deploy, you usually deploy, not always. You usually deploy the things from lower environment to higher environment, right? From lower environment to higher. But there are back deployments नाम की thing भी होती है भाई साहब, where either you are deploying something from production to sandbox or maybe from one sandbox to another sandbox. So this is what is called as back deployment. Deployment का मतलब होता है बस ट्रांसफर करना. Deployment का मतलब होता है बस ट्रांसफर करना. Either you can do it from higher to lower or lower to front or back deployment. Whatever. Front deployments are there, back deployments are there. So partial copy sandbox, right? Partial copy sandbox have at least 5 GB amount of data of production, isn't it? 5 GB amount of data. So now if I am testing something, that's the reason, I have selected this sandbox for me. इसे नाइडेक में किसी को पता भी नहीं है ज़्यादा इस बारे में. I've told you that I am a solo contractor over here. The Salesforce, everything, like they have a dependency on me as well for this. So partial copy sandbox would at least contain 5 GB of production data. So this is the reason, this is the reason when I test something, and I have taken this sandbox, DevTeam Sandbox मैंने बनाया अपने लिए रिजर्व रखा है. तो मैं कुछ अगर बनाता हूँ तो मैं यहाँ पे उसको मैं बनाता भी यहाँ पे हूँ और मेरी टेस्टिंग्स भी यहाँ पर होती है. So it at least have this, if I would go to, let me fire a query over. See, it at least have this much of data, right? I account की बात कर रहा हूँ ऐसा. तो in almost every case, like अभी देखो आप, इसमें मुझे एटलीस्ट उतना डेटा तो मिल ही जाता है. ये रियल टाइम प्रोडक्शन का डेटा, और ये अगर मेरे हाथ से मैनिपुलेट होगा तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, क्योंकि ये सैंडबॉक्स है. अगर मेरे ऑटोमेशन की वजह से इसमें कोई गड़बड़ हो गई तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं. तो मेरे पास एटलीस्ट इतना अमाउंट ऑफ डेटा तो है. डेवलपर सैंडबॉक्सेस में डेटा नहीं होता है, ठीक है. सो अभी जिस यूजर ने मुझसे ये कहा कि आप इसको दूसरे सैंडबॉक्स में लेके जाओ, इट इज क्लोज टू प्रोडक्शन, बट वो डेवलपर सैंडबॉक्स यूज कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें उतना ही डेटा रहता है जितना आपने क्रिएट किया. तो उनको वो चीज आइडिया नहीं है. तो मैंने उनसे क्या कहा कि ठीक है, मैं कर दूंगा, डिप्लॉयमेंट करके दूंगा आपको, बट मैं पहले मेरा सारा काम मैं कहाँ निपटाऊंगा. मतलब यूनिट टेस्टिंग इज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ यू. तो दिस ऑटोमेशन विच आई एम क्रिएटिंग, आई वुड बी कंटिन्यूइंग दिस इनटू दिस सैंडबॉक्स ओनली. मैं इसको यहीं बनाऊंगा और इसकी टेस्टिंग यहीं करूंगा, बिकॉज मैं जानता हूं कि मेरे पास प्रोडक्शन का डेटा है. आई एम हैविंग ऑल दिस आर प्रोडक्शन डेटा. तो माय ऑटोमेशन, हम लोग कोशिश ये करते हैं कि व्हेनेवर यू क्रिएट समथिंग, दैट शुड बी टेस्टेड क्लोज टू प्रोडक्शन डेटा एज फार एज पॉसिबल. तो चलो मेरे पास फुल कॉपी नहीं है, बिकॉज फुल कॉपी में सारा डेटा होता है, सारा एग्जैक्टली सेम। तो फुल कॉपी जो होता है सैंडबॉक्स, इट ऑलवेज कंटेन, इट ऑलवेज कंटेन एग्जैक्ट अमाउंट ऑफ डेटा जितना आपका प्रोडक्शन में। इसीलिए फुल कॉपी की जो कैपेसिटी है, इट इज सेम एज द कैपेसिटी ऑफ योर प्रोडक्शन। तो जो फाइनल टेस्टिंग होती है ना, फाइनल टेस्टिंग जो सॉफ्टवेयर टेस्टर्स, जो टेस्टिंग वाला डिपार्टमेंट करता है, यूएटी या क्यूए, कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में फाइनल टेस्टिंग क्यूए होती है, क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस, तो कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में फाइनल टेस्टिंग यूएटी। यूएटी इज यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग बोलते हैं उसको, यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग बोलते हैं उसको। तो ये जो फाइनल टेस्टिंग होती है ना, ये फाइनल टेस्टिंग हमेशा फुल कॉपी पे की जाती है। अब नाइटेक कैसा है कि नाइटेक में तो आप समझो, देखो हमेशा यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू वर्क ऑन द आइडियल एनवायरमेंट। आपको हर और एकदम आइडियल एनवायरमेंट मिलेगा ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं है, राइट। आप दोनों का फील समझो। जैसे मैं एक दूसरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हूँ, आप वो भी जानते हो, वहां पे लाइक काफी बड़ा टीम है सेल्सफोर्स का, एंड दे मेंटेन एक्चुअल एजाइल प्रैक्टिस ओवर देयर, एजाइल मेथोडोलॉजी ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट, दे मेंटेन द एक्चुअल एजाइल प्रोसेस। दैट मींस स्प्रिंट में डेवलपमेंट्स होते हैं, यूजर स्टोरीज पे डिस्कशंस होते हैं, पीआई प्लानिंग्स बोलते हैं उसको, प्लानिंग्स चलती हैं, यूजर स्टोरी का साइजिंग होता है, अलॉटमेंट्स होता है, स्प्रिंट्स रन होती है, एवरीथिंग। उसके बाद में टेस्टिंग डिप्लॉयमेंट्स के लिए भी चेन सेट हम यूज करेंगे यहाँ पे, बट वहां नहीं होता, वहां कोपाडो यूज होता है। उसके बाद में आफ्टर डिप्लॉयमेंट अलग अलग सैंडबॉक्सेस हैं, स्टेजेस हैं, जहाँ पे टेस्टिंग होती है। यूएटी का अलग सैंडबॉक्स है, क्यूए का अलग सैंडबॉक्स है। और उसके बाद में एट मैक्स you'll have to move it to क्यूए, मतलब क्यूए और यूएटी तक मूवमेंट करना पड़ता है आपको। उसके बाद में वहां से आगे लेके जाना, वहां से आगे लेके जाना मतलब यूएटी इज ऑल्सो पार्शियल कॉपी। उसके बाद यूएटी के आगे भी दो स्टेजेस हैं, मतलब उसको पार्शियल कॉपी से उसको फुल कॉपी पे लाओ। और फिर जैसे मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मैंने यहाँ डेवलपमेंट किया, फिर उसके बाद वो क्यूए पे जाता है, जाता मतलब हम ही पहुंचाते हैं, क्यूए से यूएटी तक पहुंचाते हैं, ठीक है। यहाँ तक हमारा रोल होता है, ठीक है। यहाँ तक हमारा रोल होता है, मतलब आई हैव क्रिएटेड वट एवर आई डेवलप दिस ऑन माई ओन सैंडबॉक्स। यूजुअली डेवलपर सैंडबॉक्स होता है, उस केस में डेवलपर, यहाँ मेरे पास पार्शियल कॉपी है, अलग अलग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, अलग रोल्स हैं मेरे। उसके बाद में वट एवर आई क्रिएटेड द यूनिट टेस्टिंग, जो भी मैं करता हूँ, दैट आई टेस्टेड दिस ऑन टू माई सैंडबॉक्स व्हेन आई फाउंड कि दिस इज वर्किंग, ठीक है। फिर उसके बाद में मैं उसको डिप्लॉयमेंट करता हूँ क्यूए पर। क्यूए पर एक दूसरी टीम है जो उसको टेस्ट करती है। वंस दे फाउंड इट वर्किंग गुड, दे गिव मी समथिंग कॉल्ड एज क्यूए साइन ऑफ, क्यूए साइन ऑफ, ऑलराइट। सो ये सब यूजर स्टोरी पे लिखा जाता है। आई कैन नॉट शो यू दैट राइट नाउ बिकॉज इस लैपटॉप में वो सब नहीं है मेरे पास, अदरवाइज वो फील में दिया रहता आप लोगों को, बट ये लैपटॉप पे नहीं ओपन होता, रिस्ट्रिक्टेड है। क्यूए के बाद में वंस क्यूए आई गॉट द क्यूए साइन ऑफ ऑन माय यूजर स्टोरी, देन आई मूव दैट आई परफॉर्म द डिप्लॉयमेंट टू यूएटी, and then I ask the UAT teams to perform the testings over there. Once UAT has given this sign off, उनका कहना है कि हाँ सब कुछ सही है, उसके बाद मेरा रोल खत्म हो जाता है, ठीक है। Then there is a separate team which would perform this movement from UAT to the full copy sandbox, whatever will be the name of that stage sandbox, ये वैसे उसका नाम हो आगे। तो यूएटी से स्टेज पे लेके जाना या पार्शियल कॉपी से फुल कॉपी पे लेके जाना, ये नाम है, मतलब दीज आर द सेल्सफोर्स नेम। अब तुमने उसको क्या नाम दे रखा है वो तुम्हारे ऊपर होता है। जैसे हमारे क्यूए का नाम, आई गेस क्यूए का नाम वो स्टार वॉर्स मूवी के ऊपर है यार, वो एक का नाम तो योडा है, एम आई योडा, एम आई ओमेगा, ऐसे ऐसे अलग अलग नाम शिप के नाम दे रखे हैं, तो वो आपके ऊपर है, आप कुछ भी नाम, बट दैट इज क्यूए सैंडबॉक्स, यूएटी स्टेज सैंडबॉक्स। तो ये इसके लिए एक रिलीज सर्विस टीम है, इसके लिए एक अलग टीम, दे वुड दे वुड टेक दिस टास्क ऑफ माइग्रेशन। तो इसके आगे फिर वो लोग काम करते हैं, दे वुड migrate this from the full copy to the partial copy to full copy, and once that entire testing has been done on the full copy का जो एक्सेस होता है ना वो क्लाइंट्स को भी रहता है, फुल कॉपी का एक्सेस जो होता है वो क्लाइंट को भी रहता है, इसको भी सीआर ही बोलते हैं, क्लाइंट रिव्यू। सो वी वुड आस्क द क्लाइंट, और देयर इज समबडी फ्रॉम द क्लाइंट, सम रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, क्लाइंट का अपना टेक्निकल टीम भी हो सकता है, and we submit that for client review. When we ask the client to perform the testing, sometimes it is not client, sometimes it is a Salesforce team of client, this is also possible कि client का अपना एक टीम होता है which is just responsible to perform testing। आप अगर टीसीएस में जाओगे, टीसीएस usually do this, टीसीएस का जितना मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है, टीसीएस का जितना मेरे दोस्तों को देखा है मैंने, टीसीएस इज नॉट डूइंग एनी न्यू डेवलपमेंट दीस डेज. They are just part of either deployment team or either the testing teams. तो जैसे मान के चलो कि देर इज वन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, यू नो, देर इज वन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, और वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जैसे ये एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है थोड़ा सा, दिस इज वन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ठीक है, दिस इज लेट्स से पार्ले जी. नाउ पार्ले जी हैज कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड माय कंपनी so that I could develop a software, a CRM for them. ठीक है, पार्ले जी हैज कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड माय कंपनी टू डेवलप अ Salesforce CRM for them. हमने बना दिया. नाउ दिस इज दैट फुल कॉपी सैंडबॉक्स. यहाँ तक हमने उसको ला लिया फुल कॉपी पे, एंड वी आर आस्किंग पार्ले जी टू परफॉर्म द टेस्टिंग सो दैट अगर वो सही समझे तो हम उसको प्रोडक्शन पे डाल पाए. पार्ले जी डज नॉट हैव देयर टीम. पार्ले जी ने अपना कोई टीम नहीं बना रखा है, उनके पास नहीं है सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर्स या सेल्सफोर्स की डेवलपर्स. सो दे हैव हायर्ड टीसीएस, दूसरा कोई वेंडर हायर करके रखा. उन्होंने बोला कि देखो वी वांटेड दिस स्पेसिफिक सेट ऑफ डेवलपर्स विद दिस क्वालिफिकेशन, सेल्सफोर्स में इतना एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए. व्हाट वुड बी देयर जॉब? What would be their job? This environment, they would provide an access to TCS. Let's understand. And they would ask them to perform the testing. They are developing. They have software developers. This organization also has software developers. But ये development कर रहे हैं और ये testing कर रहे हैं. So this is also part. ये business ऐसा भी run करता है. And once they would approve, हाँ नहीं, everything goes in a good way. So there is a team which perform this deployment to the production environment. तो देखो ऐसा भी चलता है business में. और कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि वो डिपेंड्स ऑन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि यू यू आर द ओनली सोलो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल पर्सन फॉर एवरीथिंग, जैसा यहाँ होता है मेरे साथ में. सो मुझे फिर सारे सारे डायरेक्शंस में सोचना पड़ता है कि मैं क्या, मुझे किस वे से जाना है, बिकॉज कुछ गलत हुआ तो सारा मेरे ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है उसका. तो फिर बहुत व्हेन द एंटायर थिंग इज इन योर हैंड, मतलब जब प्रोडक्शन तक तुम्हारी रीच है तो तुमको बहुत कॉशियसली काम करना पड़ता है. मतलब स्मॉल थिंग कुड मेक अ बिग डिफरेंस ओवर देयर. तो बेसिकली ये चीज होती है ऐसा. ठीक है, चलो. सो दिस वाज जस्ट एन एग्जांपल, लाइक दिस वाज जस्ट एन ओवरव्यू अबाउट कि सैंडबॉक्सेस क्या होते हैं, प्रोडक्शंस क्या होता है, डिप्लॉयमेंट का मतलब क्या होता है. ठीक है, फिर सैंडबॉक्स हम कैसे क्रिएट करते हैं. अभी मेरा डिस्कशन खत्म नहीं हुआ है ना, अभी मेरा डिस्कशन खत्म नहीं हुआ, रुको. सैंडबॉक्स हम कैसे क्रिएट करते हैं और सब चीजें, और ये प्रोसेस हमारी कंटिन्यू रहेगी अभी, है ना, ये प्रोसेस कंटिन्यू रहेगी. नाउ लेट मी टॉक ऑन दिस क्वेश्चन कि चलो मैं तो आपको यहाँ से पढ़ा दूंगा, आई हैव द एक्सेस टू दिस दिस पेड वर्जन्स, बट फॉर योर प्रैक्टिस आप क्या करोगे, आप कैसे सीखोगे ये सब. और अगर आज आप सीख भी रहे हो, इफ यू वोंट प्रैक्टिस, how would you uh, how would you remember this for a long time, because we every one of us knows like practice is the only thing which can make you learn the things in a better way, right, which makes you to remember the things for a long time because you have practiced on to that. तो ऑब्वियसली यहाँ पर आप कोई लाइसेंस वर्जन तो खरीदोगे नहीं, और ना ही मैं कुछ ऐसा करने वाला. बट देन आई विल टेल यू वन थिंग. सो in the beginning, if you remember that I told you, Salesforce provide you two different forms of free environment. If you remember that, so the developer edition, what we have created, this one, this is a lifetime account. This is a lifetime account. Let me close out everything first of all. But this does not provide you the facility to deploy the things. You can create almost everything, whatever you can create in an unlimited or a paid version enterprise edition, but you cannot deploy the things from it. So how I'm going to practice onto that? So there is one another form. If you remember, like I told you that there is a 30 days trial account as well. Right? 30 days trial account of Salesforce, right? Salesforce have this facility as well, right? I can see like, see, I follow the same navigation which I have followed, right? Go with this one, 30 days trial account. Go and Google this and you're going to find out this link, right? You're going to find out this link. give you that. Now fill up this form the same way. If you remember the steps for how we have created your developer edition account, and almost same step is there, right? So I'll go with like 208 deployment. I guess this is good. Your batch is 208@gmail.com. Let me once again verify all this thing. To SFTC 20, I just copy this because these email IDs are very essential. I'm going to get the link onto this. Let me open 208 as well. Here, 20. Yep. Job title, if you want, you can give. Otherwise, you can ignore this. No problem. I guess IT manager. Okay, IT manager. You can give anything over here. Company is 208. You can give anything. All right. You can give anything. Phone number is essential to give over here. That's a hurdle. I guess if you would, your number help us to recognize you. We will never sell. ठीक है अगर मैं इसको yes, it is important. It is important, as you can see. You cannot skip this. You'll have to give. And then I agree. अब ये नंबर मैं दे चुका हूँ 206 के लिए, तो देखते हैं शायद अगर ऐसा नहीं हुआ तो फिर आप में से किसी का नंबर मुझे लेना पड़ेगा. मेरे पास एक ही नंबर है. बैच 208. ठीक है. So once you fill up all these details, more important is to email ID. नाम अब तो आप अपने हिसाब से डाल सकते हो. Start my free trial. And we are now expecting one email onto this email ID. Okay, Akash, you don't have the access. Just talk to me after this if you are in class. Start my free trial. Otherwise, pay 2,000 rupees per month, which is not feasible. This is strange. This is very strange. I mean, usually it does not happens like this. Oh my God. Usually what happens is like you get an email, you set up your account like you did in developer edition. Let me close up this. Oh my God. I think something has been changed because see deployments में सबसे आखिरी में पढ़ाता हूँ तो obviously सब कुछ check your email ID to verify the account so that you can only log back in once we'll confirm. See. Although it has routed you to this, but this is just one-time login. Alrighty. When you close this out, if you wanted to come back to the same page, you obviously would require to verify the account. So this is what. Process has not been changed. Only thing is like इसके पहले ऐसा नहीं होता था. यहाँ पर एक पेज में लिख के आता था कि please go to your email and all. अभी इसने directly आपको environment पे लिख के आ चुका. It's a good thing. Meanwhile, I'm expecting the email from one email where I could verify my credentials. 208 SFDC training batch 208 यही तो है. Let me check it out कि मैंने email ID सही supply किया कि नहीं, which is I'm sure मैंने सही तो किया है. Go to your company information. There you're going to find out your email IDs and all. The user. SFTC training batch 208. But this is user. This is user. Email ID. Email ID तो सही है. We got it. So see, this is a process. Okay. This is a process, and it's the same process how you have created your developer account. Go to verify account. You can have this link every time. If you wanted to make a login, you can have this link. You can just copy and paste it out somewhere so that you should not forget this. You should not forget this. So I have this URL. I'm going to upload this everything. Don't worry. Okay, this is that if you want, you can go with this sandbox only. This and this edition also. I don't have any issue in this. This is my username. Just copy out everything. All right, copy out everything. And the password, I'm just going to set a password for this. So change your password. So I would be writing like Let me first write it out over here. Training batch 208 deployment. All right. I'm taking this password. And one security question is always there. This account, this account would remain active just for next 30 days. For the next 30 days. That means we are learning this on every Sunday, Saturday and Sunday. So I will have to piece it with account. All right. So this is what happens. So you can see यहाँ पे लिख के आ ही रहा है ना 30 days बचे हुए हैं. कल 29 हो जाएगा ये. So now this has been changed. Now see if I wanted to make a login into this. All right. I'll show you. Let me close out everything from here. And I would go to either I can go to login.salesforce, or the better would be like, if you would follow this navigation, directly make a click onto that link. It would ask you, eventually it would ask you for entering your username and password. Abhi just close kiya to cache memory mein hai, isliye usne directly le liya. Now listen this, every one of you have to create this 30 days trial account by today itself. और सिर्फ इतना ही नहीं करना है, आपको कुछ और भी करना है. आपको कुछ और भी करना है. So the first step for everything, for everybody of you, is to create this 30 days trial account. Second, go to setup menu. Go to setup menu. In the quick find, type sandbox. Go to sandboxes. Go to sandboxes. And see, here you have 10 developer sandboxes. You don't have any pro, dev pro, partial or full copy, but you at least have, 10 developer. If you wanted to see like, by the way, which edition is this? So yeah, of course, we can see that as well. You can go to the company information and you can see which edition this is. So you can go with company information and you can see it's a professional edition example. This account, which has been given to us from Salesforce for next 30 days, is a copy of professional edition. This is not an enterprise, not an unlimited, but it's a professional edition, a group edition. All right. Chalo. So go to sandboxes. Go to sandboxes. You will see that there are 10 sandboxes over here. There are 10 sandboxes over here. Right. 10 of developer. There is no dev pro. There is no partial copy and not even a full copy. You have to create 2 sandboxes. So click on to new sandbox. Let's give the name as the first one. I'm making the name as developer sandbox. Name I'm giving as developer. All right. I'm giving the name as developer. You can give any name. You can give any name. It should be a replica of production. I just have production over here right now. Okay. I just have production. Developer sandbox. Okay. See. Then once you have selected the name, you can give this is, this sandbox is used for all development tasks. This sandbox is used for all development tasks and it is shared among the community of developers of this organization. So this sandbox we ideally assuming is going to be shared, is going to be shared among all developers. Okay, chalo. And then click onto this next button. Click onto the next button. You have to skip this. You have to skip this. There is no test class at the moment, which I wanted to get tested before creating any sandbox. So you just have to not type anything. Keep this blank. It's not at all mandatory. Go to create button. Click onto that. Right. So this migration of Hyperforce, or maybe in short, it would require certain time to create this. All right. Pending. So the status is in queue. The sandbox is getting created. All right. Sandbox is getting created. Now, meanwhile, this is my first sandbox. Go. You have 10 of them, right? So go and create another one. I wanted every one of you to create at least 2 sandboxes. Let me give the name, this one as UAT sandbox. UAT. Okay. This sandbox is used by is used by is used for UAT testing. This is just an assumption. I'm trying to flavorize you. All right. I'm just trying to flavorize you guys. I'm just trying to simulate how the things goes in an actual environment. Otherwise, UAT के लिए ये sandbox नहीं रहता, अलग sandbox रहता है. I'm just trying to flavorize this. कि आपको अलग अलग कुछ दे पाऊँ. So once again, once you have written everything, go and 9 availables. I don't have any class to test for this. I just have created on create button. So this is processing, all right? This is processing. And it would require time. Sometimes this would require, even in last case, if I remember, it has required 10 days. 10 दिन लगे थे sandboxes बनने. और कभी-कभी 2 घंटे में भी हो जाता है. So this is a very unpredicted process. I'm not sure, absolutely not sure how much time this would require to create the sandboxes, right? So no problem. यहाँ तक लाके इसको छोड़ दो आज. So that we can hope, like whenever in the next week, next coming Saturday, when I would take the session, so we probably would have these 2 sandboxes, and rest of the practices we can do this one. Yes. So I wanted every one of you to do at least, come up to this stage. First of all, create a 30 days trial account. How to create that, and create at least two sandboxes. At least 2 sandboxes. You can create 3. If you want, you can create 10 of them, because there are 10 free licenses which are available with this edition. And we don't have to do anything from over here. We just have to understand, we just have to learn, we just have to practice on to the deployment process. All right. So this I wanted every one of you to do. That is going to be the today's assignment. So this would require some time to create the sandboxes. It is very unpredicted process. Sometimes this happens in few hours. Sometimes this happens. Sometime it would require maybe 10 days. All right. So that's all. That's all right now. So create a 30-day trial account and come up to this process. From this onward, we are going to see this into the next session that is going to be on next Saturday. And I wanted every one of you to give me your email IDs on your WhatsApp group. So I would be creating a separate folder in the drive for this, and I'm going to upload everything inside that only. That's all, guys. Yes, any questions? Anything to discuss? Any questions? Anything to discuss on this? Come on. Yes, any one of you have anything to discuss? Anything to discuss on this? Apart from this, anything on which you wanted me to explain you? All right, then. Thank you so much for joining. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice day.